Hey guys, what is going on? Jurgen from ZurGrinoSports here, coming at you with the March 5th, 2021 edition of Smackdown review. Quickly before we get into the review, if you would like to support me in the channel, you can do so over at Patreon. First link in the description, Discord in the description, Twitter in the description. But without further ado, let's get into the review. Good Smackdown. I liked it. We started things off with a video package. I think I was a little bit late to Smackdown. I was like a minute or two late into Smackdown because I was out of the house, and then I got back just in time, kind of just a little bit late. But I don't think I missed much. I think they started showing a video package, and then they had Michael Cole in the ring, and he introduced Daniel Bryan. He was like, hey, there was this tag match scheduled. Why all of a sudden did you change your focus from that dream main event to the Universal title? And when he said that, man, I almost lost my mind. I'm like, because it's a non-title tag match versus a title match? Obviously, like, I understand that it's like posing a question. Just the way that you structure how you ask a question is very important. There's one thing saying, hey, explain the past couple weeks in your opinion, in your eyes, whatever, and why would you turn this down for this much better option? Please explain. The question answers itself, like, you know what I mean? But whatever. It's Michael Cole. But anyways, Bryan talks about how everybody makes assumptions and that nobody asked him about the tag match because they know that Bryan will pretty much do what they say. He shows up, they ask him to do something, he'll do it. He does what's asked of him pretty much. But he's not going to be the old Daniel Bryan anymore because, see, them in the back, you know what I mean? They have this dream match, Edge versus Roman at Mania, Attitude Era versus the Thunderdome. He gets it. But he doesn't want to see it. Everybody wants to see it, but he doesn't want to see it, and he's going to do his best to stop it from happening, pretty much. And then he cues his own video package. He talked about how, like, Roman didn't talk to him about the tag match, obviously, because it's Roman. Edge is an opportunist, so Edge didn't talk to him about the tag match pretty much before that. He shows a video package of him winning the Chamber and then him losing to Roman. And then he, after the video package is done playing, he says, he's lost a lot in his career. He's been beaten up a lot of times in his career. So you'd think, that what happened in Elimination Chamber, him winning the Chamber and then losing to Roman, wouldn't be such a big deal to him. But when he rolled out of the ring to the floor and Edge got in and speared Roman and pointed at the sign, Bryan never felt like as much of a failure before in his life. He mentions how he's not somebody with a lot of ambition. WWE did a lot of, like, personality tests years ago, and he got a call back from the lady saying he had the lowest ambition score they'd ever seen or something like that. She asked why he's so successful, and he responds by saying because he loves this. You know what I mean? Like, he loves wrestling, all that stuff. He talks about how he gets closer and closer to being a full-time dad and farther away from being a full-time wrestler. So for the past year, he's put himself on the back burner, given other people the opportunities, given them the spotlight. If opportunities showed up, he was like, hey, give it to them. I'm not the future, kind of thing. But he felt like such a failure because he failed himself by putting himself on the back burner. When he was on that floor after Elimination Chamber, he realized that he had more ambition than any of the tests can show, kind of thing, and it should be him at Mania, main eventing Mania. He talks about how he's wrestled more in the last 3 weeks than Edge and Roman have in the last 3 months, which is true. And he says that it's a disservice to himself to have put himself on the back burner, yada, yada, yada. Tonight he has Jay, and if he wins, he goes to Mania. He can main event Mania, and it could be his last chance to main event Mania, kind of thing. Roman interrupts. Roman's on the ramp and they go to commercial. I thought that was kind of a weird production choice. A commercial break in the middle of a promo is kind of weird, but it is what it is. We come back from the promo. Roman and them are in the ring. His music's still playing, and they fucking shot off a bunch of pyro when he came back. So that was also a weird production choice, but to each their own. Kevin Dunn. They're in the ring, and then Roman says that he's looking at the same guy, but Bryan's not talking like he's the same guy. the way he's talking is confusing to Roman. If it's confusing to Roman, it's confusing to the audience. He's like, Daniel Bryan ambitious, driven? Nah, you're the underdog. You're the, lotto winner. Sometimes an opportunity gets presented and sometimes you happen to win one. But it's men like me, and there are few who are ambitious, who have drive. He mentions how Bryan doesn't love wrestling. He needs wrestling. Love isn't based on your needs, stuff like that. He talks about, and then Roman says he loves wrestling. He doesn't need wrestling. Wrestling needs him. The WWE needs him. Smackdown needs him. Jay and Paul need him. The crew, the camera guy, everybody. Bryan needs him, pretty much. And then as I flip my page on my notes here, because it was like a 20-minute fucking long promo segment, 25 or whatever, with the commercial in between and stuff like that. So it took more than a page for me to write down. And then he mentions how when Bryan realizes that he needs Roman, maybe he'll acknowledge him, kind of thing. Jay then cuts off Bryan as he's about to respond, saying, you shouldn't worry about the Universal title. This is the closest you'll ever get to it. You got to go through me, main event Jey Uso, all that stuff. And in the cage match there, you're not locking Roman out. You're locking me in. Stuff like that. Then he puts down the mic, circles around Roman, and then tries the cheap shot. Bryan's ready for it this week. He kind of like does like a judo throw kind of thing, flips him over. Then they stare down a little bit between Bryan and Roman, and then Roman and Paul and Jay leave the ring, and that's that segment. And man, then they had the Profits, Street Profits, come out after a quick little recap of the tag match last week with Corbin and Sami. They have Profits make their entrance, then we go to commercial. I was thinking the fact that there were 2 commercials before the first match even started, I was thinking might have been indicative that maybe they would not do any commercials in the main event since it was a cage match. That didn't end up being the case, I don't think, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Then we came back and we had Profits versus Sami and Corbin scheduled. Which I was pretty upset about, but they changed it up a little bit. Sami comes out saying last week was a fluke, and this week him and Corbin will prove it. Corbin interrupts. He's like, shut up, what are you doing? I'm not your friend. I don't like you. I'm not your tag partner. I'm not a tag team guy. We are not a tag team. I'm a singles competitor, and since I'm a singles competitor, he challenges any one of the Profits to a singles match. They say, the Dirty Dogs are still ducking them, so they got time. Do their whole spiel, and then basically we set up Montes versus Corbin, and then Dawkins is like, oh sweet, so I got Sami, all right, I get to be in a movie, yeah, shout out to Jay-Z or something like that. Sami's like, wait, hold on, are all of you in on this? Are you setting me up? I only agreed to a tag match. I didn't agree to this. You're just springing this on me, continuing his conspiracy thing. Good shit. We have Corbin versus Montes Ford. Decent match, pretty short, unfortunately, but a decent match for what it was. Corbin gets the win, which makes sense. Montes Ford and Dawkins are not singles competitors, so it would make sense that a singles guy like Corbin would beat one of them in a singles match. You know what I mean? Plus, there was a little bit of distraction by Sami Zayn as Corbin is leaving the ring and as Sami is about to start competing with Dawkins. Sami's like, hey, I helped you, you helped me. Corbin's like, what do you mean you helped me? He's like, I handed you the win just there. I'm just saying, I helped you, stick around and help me. He gets on the apron. He and Corbin start arguing a bit. Dawkins hits Sami off the apron into Corbin. Corbin's like, you just hit me in the head. Sami's like, he knocked me off. You saw it. And he's like, fuck it. You're on your own. So Corbin leaves. It kind of... I don't really like the way that they had Corbin leave, just because it makes him look kind of stupid. If he would have just sat there and been like, you know what, I don't like you anyways, I don't care if he knocked you into me, I don't want to help you regardless, I don't like you, and then left, that'd be one thing. But him kind of like not acknowledging that it was an accidental bump kind of makes Corbin look like an idiot a little bit, if you ask me. So it would have been better if he was just like, you know what, I don't care if he hit you into me. I don't like you anyways. Peace out. You're on your own. It would have been better if they just twisted it, changed it a little bit, but it's not a big issue. It's just kind of like a small thing. Then we had Dawkins versus Sami Zayn. And, the match was fine. Near the end of it, we got Montez going over the documentary crew, which distracts Sami. Sami is, yelling to the outside like, what the hell? Dawkins comes over, rolls up Sami. 1, 2, 3. Dawkins gets the win. Sami loses. Makes sense for his conspiracy theory gimmick. He's really upset. He gets out. And then, so you know how in his documentary crew, he has one guy with like a big fucking camera and then one guy with like a handheld camera? So the guy with the handheld camera, he starts pointing at him and talking to the guy with the big camera. And he's like, who's this? I didn't hire him. Who's this? Do you work for the company? Do you work for the WWE? Blah, blah, blah. I'm sick of this. And then he grabs him and he starts beating him up a little bit. So he got his conspiracy extended to his own documentary crew, or at least one of them. So, Corbin getting the win, I'm good with. Sami getting a loss. I'm not particularly a fan of Dawkins. I would have preferred if it were the other way around, if Corbin would have beat Dawkins and then Montez would have beat Sami. I think it would have been better if they switched that around a little bit, but at the same time, I don't know if Dawkins can sell the end of days, because the end of days is how Corbin beat Montez, and I don't know if Dawkins can go up and down for the end of days because he's a bit of a stockier guy. Montez is very athletic and very slim and, you know what I mean, and fit and stuff, so he can definitely do the end of days. He can definitely sell the end of days, take the end of days. I don't know if Dawkins can. Maybe that was the decision that made them be like, okay, well, Dawkins can't take the end of days, so by default it has to be Montez. I don't know. If Dawkins is able to take the end of days, though, I would have had him lose to Corbin and have Montez beat Sami, just because I think Montez is the stronger of the two. So, and I don't think they have any plans of splitting up the Street Profits anytime soon. I don't think they should anytime soon. Maybe in a few years or something. Maybe a few years is a bit too long, but maybe in a year or two, something like that kind of thing. I don't know. In a while, in the distant future, they should probably split them up and let Montez go on a singles run, I think, because I think he has star potential, upper mid-card potential, while Dawkins, I don't think could really survive as a singles guy. They're a great tag team, though. All I'm saying is Montez should have probably gotten the win, and Dawkins should have taken the loss. Personally speaking, that's my opinion. Then again, I don't know if Dawkins can take the end of days. If he can't, then you're kind of, it's unfortunate unless you want to end the match with a deep six or something like that. But yeah, no problems with that happening there. Like I said, I would switch the winner and loser part of the profits. But other than that, Corbin winning and Sami losing, I don't really have a problem with. I think it's fine. Corbin needs a win. Corbin needs a program, really. We'll have to see what ends up happening with that, but because he's kind of floating right now. Then we had a little backstage segment with Carmella and Reginald. Carmella, pulls him aside while he's walking around with some wine on a platter, tray, whatever. She talks about something about playing Who's the Snake or something. Says that Carmella took a chance on a lowly sommelier and gave him the spotlight, blah blah blah, and he stabbed her in the back to side with Sasha or some shit like that. So he's the Snake, knocks the tray out of his hands. He's fired. Bada boom, bada bing. It's unfortunate that Carmella is kind of just not doing anything anymore. You know what I mean? I mentioned this in the Discord, so reminder, go join the Discord. But her repackage, I liked it. I thought her repackage was good. It made her feel like a big deal. It made her feel unique and stand out. And then they gave her 2 big losses at TLC, then Rumble against Sasha in title competition. Not losses that put both people over, because Carmella had just been repackaged, so it's kind of, you just took all the momentum away, and now Reginald's not even part of her act anymore, unless this is like a long-term bait and switch where Reginald cost somebody a match against Carmella, and then it's like, oh, he's back, we played you, which it could very well be. I feel sorry for Carmella because her repackage was great. It made her feel like a big deal. It made her feel fresh. She's getting a lot better in the ring. She's had some great matches, so it's just, she had all this momentum with the repackage, and then they're like, oh, yeah, you're losing 2 big matches immediately, and then you're not going to be part of the division. Okay, take it easy. You know what I mean? So that's unfortunate. But yeah, her firing Reginald, I guess, makes sense because he's going around with Sasha and stuff like that, trying to, carry favor with Sasha. So yeah, then we had Gable versus Dominic. Good match. Not the longest match, but the match quality was good. I mean, Dominic is good for how long he's been in. He looks comfortable in there, and Gable is obviously fantastic. However, I did not like the outcome of this match because Dominic rolls up Gable for a clean win. Not like a schoolboy or like a, you know what I mean? He did one of those things where like he kind of like grapevines the arm with his legs and then grabs the other arm with his arms and kind of like a crucifix pin, I guess. Would be. It wasn't a crucifix pin, but it was like kind of similar to a crucifix pin, if I'm remembering correctly in my head. And then as soon as the pin happens, Ray goes across. He attacks Otis, then jumps from the apron onto Otis onto the table. And then when he's trying to haul ass away, because he starts to run back towards the ramp to where Dominic is celebrating at the ramp, he knocks into a cameraman, which is the funniest shit. And then he like hauls ass, and he's trying to like go through a maze of like cameramen and crew and shit like that to get to the ramp. It's fucking hilarious. Once again, WWE doing the whole, hey, a babyface attacks a heel in a cheap shot because that's what babyfaces do, even though it's not. I really don't like Gable getting a clean loss to Dominic. I don't think Dominic should really be winning any singles matches clean against really anybody. At this stage in his career, right? Because I think what they should do with him is do the tag team thing with Ray, which obviously they're doing because they have this tag team feud right now, Alpha Academy and then the Mysterios. But I do think that it should be kind of like the whole story for Dominic right now should be the fact that he's like still learning. Like he's Ray's son, but he's still in the learning phases. You know what I mean? Like he's still early in his career. He's very inexperienced. So a guy like Gable should be beating him fairly comfortably, you know what I mean, or convincingly, you know what I mean. And then maybe you could have Ray beat Gable. I wouldn't like that either because I don't think Gable should really be taking losses, but obviously they don't carry the same opinion on Gable that I do. Otherwise, Gable would be an upper mid card or main event guy just because he's that fucking damn good to steal Triple H's catchphrase. He's that damn good, but yeah, I really don't like Gable losing clean to Dominic. Gable should have won. You could still have Ray do the attack afterwards, you know what I mean? Because you could have Gable maybe like, I don't know, you could have just Ray take like a cheap shot afterwards anyways, because it doesn't make sense for him to take a cheap shot after a win anyways, because they're the baby faces, they shouldn't be taking cheap shots. So, the match was good. I really don't like Dominic beating Gable clean. But that might just be me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Gable should be losing clean to Dominic? Do you agree with me that Dominic shouldn't be really winning many singles matches clean right now? If any to begin with. So yeah, I don't know. We had a Seth backstage interview where he was asked about how Cesaro put like the longest swing he's ever done on Seth. Seth talks about he asks why, Cesaro, has he ever done it that long with that many rotations to anyone else? No. Why would he do it? Because he's afraid of us. He's afraid of those who embrace the vision. And he did it to embarrass me. He did it to humiliate me. And he promises that he'll never forget that. Then the camera, pans a little bit to the left to Murphy, who says, he was thinking he could assist Seth with the Cesaro situation. Seth says, "Get out of my sight now." I'm really happy Murphy's back on TV. You know what I mean? That's good. It would be kind of strange to pair him with Seth again, because they did the whole, Murphy was, turned to the good side by Aaliyah, which thank fuck Aaliyah's not on television. Not because of her, but just because the way she would have been on television is being in a relationship with somebody who is almost twice her age. So, no bueno. But not very good. So, I'm thankful that that's not happening. I do think it's kind of strange if they are going to pair Murphy with Seth again, just because, they did the whole thing. Murphy got a win over him on SmackDown, and then they just dropped Murphy because of the whole Cutler and Blake thing, mainly the Cutler thing because he was the one released. Maybe they could reform Blake and Murphy, you know what I mean, and then have another tag team in the division because they fucking need tag teams. But yeah, as if I'd be fine with them going back on it and pairing him again if it means Murphy's on TV, because Murphy should be on TV. Murphy should be in the upper mid card, or at least building towards it. You know what I mean? And then one day be in the upper mid card in like the title picture kind of thing, because Buddy Murphy is fucking fantastic. So. Yeah, man. Then we had Bianca versus Shayna Basler. Shayna makes her entrance. We go to commercial, I think. Then we come back. Bianca makes her entrance. Sasha gets her own entrance to be ringside with Bianca. Reginald sheepishly follows her out after she's like halfway down the ramp. She looks behind her shoulder. She's like, "Oh fuck this guy." The match is good for the time that they were allotted. Near the end of the match, Bianca goes for like a glam slam kind of thing. Shayna rolls out of it and rolls Bianca through outside the ring, and she kind of lands at the feet of Reginald. She gets up, starts arguing with Reginald a little bit, pushes Reginald over to Nia Jax, who was ringside. She gets in the ring. Nia Jax, now Reggie is at Nia Jax's feet. He gets up. Nia Jax pushes him. He gets pushed towards Sasha, not to the ground this time, but standing. And then Nia starts charging at him. He ducks under it. Nia hits Sasha. Shayna goes for the Kirifuda clutch. Bianca kind of like slips out of it, I guess, and gets the KOD on Shayna for the win. And then after the match, Reggie is checking on Sasha, who's still on the ground. Bianca gets out. She's like, "Hey, that was your fault. Deal with him. That's him. That's you. Deal with this shit, because it's me and you at Mania. It's me and you at Fastlane or whatever, because for some reason they're getting another shot at those tag titles, even though fucking, Naomi and Lana literally won a tag team opportunity a few weeks ago, and they got jumped, the gun by two teams, and then one team again is going to get a shot before them, I guess. I really don't know what the fuck's going on with that. And yeah. Bianca goes up the ramp, celebrating. Reggie's like, "Yo, we cool. And then Sasha's like, yeah, we're cool. Slaps the shit out of him, slaps the taste out his mouth. And then she's like, "Yo, don't get in my shit. Don't get in my business," kind of thing. And then she walks off, and that's the end. Bianca winning is definitely the right call. I just think it's shitty that Shayna is the one that she's winning against. You know what I mean? I don't think the outside shit was really needed. It didn't really play into the finish of the match. You don't really need Reginald, causing a Sasha and Nia Jax bump, because it didn't affect the finish. And even if you want to set up Nia versus Sasha next week or something, and that's what they're trying to do, and just be like, "Oh, Nia, you bumped me last week. I want some revenge." Nia's a heel. She can just attack Sasha because she feels like it at ringside. She doesn't need the whole, "Oh, I was going for Reggie, but he ducked and I hit you. Oopsie," because she's a heel. She can attack whoever the fuck she wants. Heels have more freedom to do that shit. So it's just the outside distraction kind of stuff I didn't really like, because it didn't affect the outcome of the match, and it didn't really service anything. It didn't really service anything. And again, I don't like Shayna taking the loss, because it should be Nia, if anybody's going to take the loss. And in case anybody's thinking, because earlier I said, "Oh, tag team guys can take a singles loss," that makes sense. If anybody's thinking, "Oh yeah, but they're tag team, Shayna and Nia, blah blah blah," Shayna and Nia aren't a tag team. They are a makeshift tag team. They started off as an at-odds tag team, and then creative still hasn't figured out that Shayna is a top star, so they're still partnering her with Nia, because they split up all the women's tag teams that existed, so they don't have any women's tag teams for those titles. So You know what I mean? There's a difference between a team like Street Profits being able to take singles losses versus a team like Shayna and Nia. Street Profits are a tag team with tag team competitors because they've been a tag team their pretty much whole time on the roster, everything. And then you have, Shayna and Nia, who is a tag team of singles competitors, just like the Dirty Dogs are a tag team of singles competitors. Granted, the counter argument to that is every tag team is two guys put together or two girls put together. But then again, you could say that two tag team people got put together, like somebody who wants to do tag team wrestling found somebody to do tag team wrestling with, boom, they got together. And then it's just, Shayna shouldn't be taking losses like this, man. She should have won the title last year at Mania. Becky Lynch herself agreed. She's like, hey, she should beat me for the title. And then Vince was like, no, damn it, because he doesn't understand Shayna's style of wrestling, unfortunately. I just don't like Shayna taking the loss, man. If Nia was in there taking the loss, that's fine. I just don't like Shayna taking the loss. And you kind of had to give Shayna the loss because Bianca should not be losing a singles match unless it's by direct interference or being cost the match by Sasha for a heel turn or something. You know what I mean? And that is the only circumstance that Bianca should be losing a match, or should be taking a fall, I guess I'll say, because they lost the tag team title match at Elimination Chamber, but Sasha took the pin and whatever. But Bianca should not be losing a singles match or taking a fall unless it's by direct cause of Sasha turning heel on her kind of thing. So Bianca had to win, and that is the right call. I just don't like that Shayna was the one taking the loss on the other side as I flip my page once more. We had a quick little segment backstage between Jay and Roman Reigns, where Roman talks about, if you win, the title's safe until Mania, and if not, then I have to defend it at Fastlane, which is fine. But most importantly, if you lose tonight, you embarrass yourself and you embarrass our family. Don't embarrass our family. Jay says, I got this, Uce, and then he goes away. Then we had Cesaro versus Murphy. Seth comes out before the match starts and goes over to commentary. The match was good for the time allotted. It was a bit of a short match, unfortunately. But good match nonetheless. I'd love to see these guys at Fastlane, you know what I mean? If they are going to pair Murphy and Seth, I'd love to see them get like 15, 20 minutes of Fastlane to just fucking tear the house down, you know what I mean? Because that would be a fucking great match. Giving Cesaro and Murphy that much time, fucking magic. But Seth's on commentary. Cesaro ends up winning by doing the sharpshooter and then, the Cesaro swing into the sharpshooter, which I guess is his new finishing combo now. And then he causes Murphy to tap out. A little bit of a stare down to Seth outside the ring at commentary from inside the ring a little bit. Then we go backstage with Reginald walking down the corridor with his bags packed. He knocks on Sasha's door. She's like, fuck off. He says something, but I didn't really hear it because he kind of spoke a little bit quietly, but she says no emphatically and slams the door on him. And he's walking by. Shayna and Nia are standing there. Shayna's like, oh man, Eureka failure, even though she just lost the match. So it's kind of not the right person to have saying that because logic dictates that she doesn't have a right to say that right after losing a match. You know what I mean? Losing a match clean as well. And then she rags on him, and then Nia's like, yo, hold on, calm down, dude, calm down. He's kind of cute, and then we go to commercial. So I don't know what the fuck that was. That wasn't really necessary. You know what I mean? And unless they have Reginald cost Sasha and Bianca the match to side with Nia, and then he moves over to Raw with them, kind of thing. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to relocate Reginald. Or something, I don't really know. Maybe Reginald splits up Shayna and Nia, you know what I mean? Maybe Reginald splits up Shayna and Nia because Nia gets too fixated on Reginald. They lose the tag title. Shayna's like, bruh, you over here simping over a simp, you know what I mean? And we lost the tag titles. I give a fuck about the tag titles. You don't, blah, blah, blah. They could blow out and have a match, and then Shayna could actually be treated like she should be, which is seriously and in the title picture. So granted, that probably won't happen. But maybe it will. So if that's just like a little seed planted for, a future, them getting cost the match at Fastlane by Reginald, and then Reginald siding with Nia and Shayna and something like that, then fine, whatever, include it. But other than that, if it doesn't lead to anything, I don't know what the fuck the point was. It was kind of useless. Then we had an Apollo promo. This week he cut his promo fully in a Nigerian accent. He was accompanied by two guards, and he was holding like a spear with him, kind of thing. He said that, people have been telling him that they don't like the new Apollo, but it's not new. It's not the new Apollo. It's the real Apollo. He's accompanied by the Nigerian elite guard who have, protected his royal family for years and stuff like that. When he was a kid, he remembers how his father would tell him stories, but he would be ashamed of them because he would want to fit in. He would want to go to school, and when he went to school, he was made fun of, so he just wanted to be like everybody. And even his friends would make fun of him, like, did you live in a cave, I think he said, or did you live in the jungle? Did you ride a lion to school or something like that? Like, he made some, like, stereotypical kind of racist, comments that he would have heard. I don't know if he actually did hear that stuff from his friends, and that's just his friends. Granted, when you're a kid, you're ignorant. I mean, right? But maybe that's stuff that he actually heard from his friends when he was in school, or maybe that's stuff that he thought, oh yes, I'll use that for my promo. I don't know, but it's good promo shit anyway. So yeah, you know what I mean? And yeah, and then he talked about how nowadays he's not ashamed, kind of thing. He said something about how his dad would tell stories of like how they'd conquer and shit like that or something when somebody tried to like fuck. He was speaking fast and I couldn't write it all down, and I thought I'd remember it. He said something else in between what I'm going to say next that he said, like explaining what his father would tell him. It was something about how like when somebody disrespected them, they would go and conquer them or something. I don't know. He talks about how he talks about how history is repeating itself because Big E tried to conquer and humble him. And the whole time he was hearing his ancestors in his head saying for him to, stand up and claim your birthright. He heard that Big E is back next week. He talks about how, he's not ashamed anymore. He's proud to stand out and not fit in. He talks about how he doesn't ask, he demands now, and he's demanding a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship. He said something about leaving Big E like broken and haunted by his loss or his failure or something like that. And then that was the end of the promo. He was speaking too quickly for me to write it down because I write slow, so I didn't completely encapsulate, everything that he said, but the gist of it was there. Good promo. Again, he had a good promo last week. He had a good promo this week. Last week, of course, he did it in his natural, I don't know if that's his natural tongue. Because he said like him speaking in the Nigerian accent is actually how he talks in the promo as well. But I don't know if that's true and he's just playing that up for the character, or if like that is naturally the accent and he kind of like developed a American, I guess, accent when he was growing up or something. I don't really know. But anyways, last week he did it in the voice, in the accent that we know him to speak in, and then had like one or two lines in the Nigerian accent. This week he did the whole thing in the Nigerian accent. I liked that, fully playing into his Nigerian royalty heritage kind of thing. Yeah, good promo again from Apollo. If they do end up doing the match next week for the title with him and Big E, unless he gets like a DQ loss because like Big E isn't getting put down, like he hits his finisher, Big E kicks out, maybe hits another big move, Big E kicks out, and he's like, God damn it, I can't beat him. I'll just injure him again or something, and then gets DQ'd. You know what I mean? I think that is the only way he could lose the match next week if they do have it happen. You know what I mean? If they postpone it, the only way he could lose is like that again, unless they want him to win it at Mania kind of thing. But then again, should Big E really be losing a match at Mania? Like, I don't know. They're in this weird spot where Big E's in a place where I don't think he should necessarily lose the title yet, but Apollo feels like such a big deal after the steps spot and after the promo last week and after the promo this week, where he feels like such a big deal with his new character that having him lose isn't the right call either. So they're kind of in a weird spot where I don't know what they're going to do because there's no real right decision, right? Whoever you have win the match, whether it's Apollo winning the title, you could argue it's too soon for Big E to drop it. But if Big E retains, you could argue, well, you shouldn't have, taken the legs out of Apollo after you just built him up to be interesting. So they're in a weird spot. We have to see how it ends up, kind of thing. But I think a referee stoppage could be good, but I think that's what they might do at Mania to have Roman retain. So I don't know if they'd want to do that this close to Mania, because I think at Mania, Roman and Edge might have a doctor stoppage with Roman like focusing on the neck throughout the match, and then Edge being resilient, because you put over Edge as being resilient even in his old age, not old age, but even in this stage of his career. You don't give Edge a loss, because I guess they don't want to give Edge a loss because there's rumors that they might have him win against Roman. And then you keep Roman strong. So, I don't know. Granted, this is all just, what the fuck is the word? Why can I not remember the word? Hypothetical. There we go. Found it. It's all hypothetical. I don't know if they'll actually do that. I just think that would be a good finish for the Roman and Edge match at Mania, the doctor stoppage, even though a doctor stoppage would put over Apollo as well against Big E. But we'll have to wait and see what they end up doing with that. But for this week, for this SmackDown, I really liked the promo. I liked what topics he touched on and stuff like that. I liked his delivery of everything. Good shit, man. Honestly, good shit. I'm really liking this new Apollo. Then we had a very quick segment backstage where Tamina and Natty were talking to Pierce and Sonya about why they aren't in the tag title match instead. Because you haven't really won any tag matches, Natty. Tamina won a singles match last week, which was bullshit. And then, also because you guys are as interesting as fucking, chalk or watching paint dry. You know what I mean? And I'm being an asshole about it because it's just maybe not so much Natty, because Natty, at least, even if she's a boring character and her promos aren't good, when she gets in there, she can have a great match. You know what I mean? So Natty gets a pass. If you want to put Natty into a title feud to give somebody a placeholder feud, if you let's say, if they could have done Natty and Sasha at Fastlane, it wouldn't have been great, you know what I mean? But it could have been a placeholder feud. Sasha defends her title one last time before losing it to Bianca at Mania, kind of thing. Bada boom, bada bing, right? And it would be fine because Natty and Sasha would have a good match because Natty's great in the ring. Tamina, however, I'll say it again because I feel like I've been saying it every week for a little bit now, is awful in all aspects of wrestling. The only aspect that she has going for her is that she's part of the NOI family. Just like Nia Jax, if she was not, she would not be on the main roster or in WWE at all, probably. You know what I mean? It's just not, I don't know. Basically, Pierce is like, I'm sorry, that the match that was made was the match that was made, and he says, please excuse me. He leaves, and Sonya's like, I don't know, Pierce made the match, Pierce made the decision. And then it kind of lingered for a little bit, and then we went to Jay about to get interviewed backstage before Bryan blindsides him, attacks him, not a prolonged attack, just like a running strike, and then he's just like, oh, okay. And then we go to commercial. We come back for a quick ding dong hello segment backstage, where Bayley talks about how she's going to rehearse, a new segment on her show. Most talk shows have this thing called mean tweets where they look at, hate messages. She's going to do sweet tweets. The first one was about how Ding Dong Hello was great, or she's a great host and much better than Sasha would be. The second one is how Ding Dong Hello should main event Mania, not Roman versus Edge. And then the third one, she starts and then she cuts herself off, doesn't finish. She starts acting upset. She's like, did you put, and then she crumples it up and then storms out by slamming the door that she opened to get in onto the set, pretty much. So quick little ding dong hello to get Bayley on the show. Hopefully they expand on this and then find out what happened with that, I guess, mean tweet that got put in with the sweet tweets, I guess. Hopefully they expand on that and find out what happened. And man. Hopefully that's what they do. because I'd like to see how that goes. Maybe, Ruby and Liv, maybe Billy, maybe Chelsea Green is recovered from breaking her wrist or her arm or whatever she broke on her debut on SmackDown. That happened before I started watching, I think. Maybe she's back and they're ready to incorporate her, and that's what that's teasing to. I don't really know. Maybe Eva Marie's finally ready to make her comeback. Speaking of Eva Marie, man, Parker Boudreaux, if that's how you say it, basically Brock Lesnar 2.0, that guy, man, he posted a picture of him and Eva Marie at a workout. The guy is fucking huge. Like, I didn't know he was that big, but like one of his fucking legs is like wider than all of Eva Marie. Her whole body is skinnier than his leg. The dude is fucking massive. And I knew he was a big guy because when you hear, oh, he's the next Brock Lesnar, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, he's a big guy. But he's a big guy. Either that or Eva is really small and the camera and the picture just makes him look bigger because of how small Eva Marie is. But like from what I remember, Eva Marie wasn't the smallest, female wrestler on the roster. She was like one of the taller female wrestlers on the roster, I think, if I remember correctly. So like, I don't know, that guy's huge. That has nothing to do with SmackDown. But I just thought I saw it on Twitter or something. I was just like, what the fuck? This guy's huge. But anyways, we'll see if it's Chelsea Green. We'll see if they actually expand on it in the future or not, but whatever. Then we had Graves introducing the cage. We had the old school cage dropping music as the cage lowered, which I fucking love because that ominous music just really adds to the cage. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if it's the chamber, or if it's a cage, or if it's a Hell in a Cell, whatever it is, any sort of cage dropping down, meaning you're locked in there and you can't get out and you have to just beat the shit out of each other. You know what I mean? It's a dark kind of match. It's an intense match. So that intense, ominous music is just perfect for it. So I'm really happy that they did that. You know what I mean? And then Graves was in there introducing the cage match. He was talking about blah, 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 basically putting over the cage match, the rules, pin, submission, escaping the cage, either through the door or over the top. We have a brave cameraman up there to show you what the view is from the top. Immediately when they pointed out the cameraman up there, my immediate thought was, oh, Jimmy's back and he's going to cost Bryan the match. But I'll tell you right now, that didn't end up happening because he wasn't there for the actual match. They just had him up there to show the cage during the introduction, which, yeah, I just thought them putting emphasis on him, like Corey Graves saying, like, hey, we got a brave cameraman up there. I was just like, oh, that has to be somebody. But it was just them. It was just maybe Graves just saying, yo, props, my guy. I wouldn't get up there, so I don't know. We had Bryan versus Jay in a steel cage. Jay makes his entrance. Bryan makes his entrance. Roman makes his entrance. He goes to the bottom of the ramp. He stands there. Paul Heyman goes and gets him a chair. Best seat in the house for Roman. We go to commercial. We come back. The match starts. And we got like 10, 13 minutes. You know what I mean? It was 9:47 Eastern, I think, when the match started. Or you know what? It might have been 9:45 Eastern. Because I checked my phone like a little bit after the match started to check the time to see how much time this match was going to get. And I was like, oh shit, 13 minutes. Because it was 9:47 when I checked my phone. And I was like, oh shit, 13 minutes. We're actually getting a real ass steel cage match between these two. This is going to be great. And great it was. It was a fantastic cage match. Jay is great. Bryan is great. They've put on great matches together since Jay has, since he did the versus Roman thing, and then since he's, partnered with Roman and, had to fall in line or face the consequences, that whole thing back when they initially aligned Jay with Roman. And then had those matches against Bryan in the main event. You know what I mean? Some people thought they felt a little bit out of place. It doesn't feel out of place to have Jay in the main event anymore, you know what I mean? Because he's main event Jey Uso. 2 weeks in a row, he's been in the main event against Bryan. 2 weeks in a row, they've had a good match, a great match. They've been given time to just have a good match. They had an interesting finish last week, which prolonged it, which I didn't see coming to finish last week. And then they had a finish this week, which was clean, Bryan winning, which came at the end where... So they both climbed to the turnbuckle. Bryan was like getting out of the cage. Jay stopped him. He brought him back in. And then Bryan grabs Jay's arm and they're on the top turnbuckle and just repeatedly, smashes Jay's arm into the cage while they're up there. Then butterfly suplex off of the top rope into the into the yes lock. Jay makes it over to the ropes, grabs the ropes, but guess what? No rope break in a cage. And then he eventually taps out, giving Bryan the clean win. Roman, a look of severe disappointment on, towards Jay. Bryan wins, and he will get a WWE or Universal title shot at Fastlane, which leads me to believe they'll probably do that whole big tag match next week instead of at Fastlane, since that was the kayfabe alternative for the Fastlane main event. You know what I mean? Edge and Jay versus Edge and Bryan versus Roman and Jay. Excuse me. So I think they'll probably end up doing that next week. They'll probably have Pierce be like, hey, this was booked for Sunday, but actually, when is Fastlane? Is it next Sunday or is it in 2 weeks? It might be in 2 weeks, Because all I know is they have like a 3-week build to Mania after Fastlane, which is just so shit. It's so shit. I don't know why they would have kept this whole 2 pay-per-views between Rumble and Mania bullshit that they've been doing. You know what I mean? Because it creates more problems than it does solutions. Or it creates more problems than it creates more roadblocks than it does opportunities, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you just have to put up with more bullshit than it gives you opportunities to build stuff. You know what I mean? Because if you throw a pay-per-view in there, then you need to do something big at the pay-per-view. But if you're trying to build for something big at Mania, more time to build makes it bigger. So you have to build for something big at Fastlane, but not too big because you have the big thing at Mania. But because you had the big thing at Fastlane 3 weeks before, you only have 3 weeks to build for Mania. So what would have been the huge thing at Mania is only a kind of big thing at Mania because you had to have a kind of big thing at Fastlane. So you're pretty much splitting the scale of what you want to do at Mania. You're kind of taking half of it away and shoving it onto Fastlane. Where if they would have just kept Elimination Chamber, maybe had it 1 week later than it was, so instead of it being the week it was, maybe postpone it 1 more week, and then you could have had a big build to Mania, and then you're all good to go, you know what I mean? But I don't know, they threw Fastlane in there for money or some shit, so, which, fair enough. I mean, business doesn't really, give a fuck about what's good for the storylines, it gives a fuck about what's good for the money, so, yeah. Yeah, good Smackdown. They didn't have Liv and Ruby jobbing out for no reason this week, although they did have the Gable taking a clean loss to Dominic thing that pissed me off. Maybe not pissed me off, but it's very disappointing because it's not necessary. Dominic should not be getting clean wins against anybody on the roster yet. You know what I mean? In my opinion. Murphy being back was good. Bryan and Jay, a great main event. The rest of the matches on the card was a little bit unfortunate because they were all a little bit short. You know what I mean? That initial promo at the start of the night that took like 25 minutes probably didn't need to be 25 minutes. You could have said all that in like a 10-minute promo. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. You could have given more time to the matches, but again, it is what it is. It's fine. But yeah, overall, good SmackDown, maybe like a 8 out of 10, I think, because there was nothing like outstanding, really. It was just a solid SmackDown. There were a couple things that didn't really make sense. Like I said, Gable taking the clean loss didn't really make sense. That promo was a little bit too long. Natty and Tamina asking for a title shot, fuck off with that. The Sommelier stuff, the Reginald stuff, my boy Reggie Simpinold, that stuff wasn't really necessary. So it was a good SmackDown. It just wasn't anything outstanding outside of the main event. Cesaro getting a win is good, even though Murphy had to take a loss. But I mean, Murphy being on TV is better than him not being on TV at all. Yeah, I'll give it an 8. I think, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't bad enough to be a 7. You know what I mean? And like 7 out of 10 isn't a bad rating. It's just too low for what SmackDown was because it was just like. It was a good show, I liked it. You know what I mean? So I think maybe an 8 out of 10. Or maybe a 7.5. Maybe I'll drop it a little bit because I feel either a 7.5 or 8. If you ask me in like 10 minutes, I might change my mind. If you ask me tomorrow, I might change my mind. You know what I mean? I'm not really like dead set on it. 7's a bit too low. 7.5 feels a bit harsh though. It was a good show, but I'll go 7.5 or 8. That's my rating. Let me know what your rating is down in the comments below. Did you like SmackDown? Did you dislike it? Your rating out of 10? Do you agree or disagree with me on topics that I discussed? Just let me know. All of that down in the comments. I'd like to hear your thoughts. If you'd like to support me in the channel, you can do so over at Patreon, first link in the description. If you'd like to join the Discord server, that link is also in the description. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that link is also in the description. If you'd like to check out some of the other stuff I do on the channel, I do primarily gameplay content, wrestling gameplay content. So if you want to go check that out, you can do so at the end cards at the end of the video. Primarily my Smackdown vs. 2006 GM mode, where I book storylines and stuff. So if you want to see how I'd book a wrestling show, head on over to that. You can see how I'd book the wrestling show, and then you could see how I book it differently than WWE, I guess. The similarities, the differences, whatever. Go check that out. Really have a lot of fun with that series. It's my favorite one on the channel that I do, so for sure, if you'd like to check that out, go do that. You know what I'm saying? Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, because YouTube likes to zuck your boy, and I'll put my videos in your sub boxes, so by pressing that nice old bell icon, you'll get a push notification anytime I do upload, and you'll never have to miss it. And sponsor me PC, obligatory sponsor me gimmick. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the review, please leave a like, subscribe, share it to all your friends, comment down below, all that good shit, and I'll see you guys next time.